So we don't teach our children anything. My son's 6 and it took some patience and not comparing myself to other moms, but this is his book. Look at this. Lamp, egg.
Day 2 of unschooling, and we're at the park learning how to have fun.
So by the time I hit middle school, all the other kids were making fun of me for not knowing how to read.
Today we're talking about the unschooling trend on TikTok. Now, if you don't know what unschooling is pretty much unstructured learning environment for the child, and the parent will educate them on things that the child is interested in. So for example, little Timmy loves cars. So what are they going to base their education around? Cars. They're going to learn the ins and out of cars. Whatever Timmy wants to learn about. So there is no curriculum, no structure. Whatever Timmy wants to learn about, they will learn about. Now, poor Timmy doesn't have a choice if he wants to be unschooled or homeschooled or go to public school. The parent decides what they think is best for their kid, which all parents have to do. The reason I think unschooling is problematic for some parents is because some parents are not equipped to educate their child. That's just my opinion. Take Kelsey Ray for an example. She is now an unschooling mum, and how she got to unschooling is she didn't think it was important, or she could not be bothered to sign off on a piece of paper for her son that was required from her teacher.
It's a paper that had a signature side and a date side, and she told him, didn't say nothing to me, told him to tell me I needed to take his homework out of his folder every single night, sign and date this piece of paper, and send it back to her every single day. Now, listen, I took that piece of paper out and I said, I'm not doing that, baby. That has no benefit to you at all. I have 4 kids, and I run a massive business through social media. I don't have time. Literally, I put it on the counter and have it signed it.
Now, that's a little bit concerning to me. It's a bit of a red flag moment, because if Kelsey couldn't be bothered to even sign off on a piece of paper that she had to do each night, why does she think she can educate her son on a full-time basis? But here we are. Kelsey Ray is now unschooling her kids.
Day 2 of unschooling, and we're at the park learning how to have fun. But before you get your panties in a wad, listen. Yes, we're going to be doing reading and writing and math and maybe science, but it's not going to look the same as traditional public school. It's going to be different. There's so many comments in my comment section about, well, what if they want to be a doctor or a lawyer? And I think I've already mentioned this before one time already, but like the likelihood of my kids wanting to do something that they don't see that I'm normalizing is very slim. On top of, I'm very proactive inside of my profession and my career of being an entrepreneur.
So Kelsey is totally dismissing the opportunity for her kids to become a doctor, a lawyer, something with a very high education, because she thinks that her kids will just not want to go down that avenue and they will want to become an entrepreneur just like she is. But dismissing the thought of your child having a high education, wouldn't you want a better life for your kid? Kelsey thinks that her kids are just going to follow in her footsteps. But I find this quite ironic, because if they follow in her footsteps, they're probably just going to end up in prison.
My charges were armed robbery, conspiracy to commit armed robbery, and attempted murder. Do I regret it? No.
Not saying that prison, you can't have a second chance in life. Right now, Kelsey, to me, is not looking like the ideal unschooling parent.
How many doctors and lawyers and, other professions do you see where they're literally in debt? And most of these people are miserable. Most of them. I don't know that I've seen a doctor or a lawyer that's like so happy and, like I said, not in debt. And that's my goal with my kids, is I don't want them to experience being in debt. I'm going to teach them finances and money. And yeah, you do learn that shit in school, but how many of you guys actually utilized it and learned it in a real world way?
She is more worried about the debt that comes with high education. Now, most people have debt at some point in their life. It's just the way of the world, and we just have to learn to manage it and make sure we don't get so far in debt that it's hurting ourselves in the long run.
So a couple of things that I'm going to be doing are prioritizing to make sure that I don't fuck up his education and he learns the skills he needs to be a successful adult, is lots of time outside. This is going to allow his creativity to flow. Letting children be children and not setting them in front of a fucking desk or a piece of paper or a book for 8 hours a day is the best way to get their creativity flowing, and that matters in life, especially when you're trying to do something that you love. I'm going to take him grocery shopping. We're going to start a garden, doing lots of gardening, lots of hands-on stuff to teach him these things.
So you mean parenting.
I'm going to also teach him about money. That goes into grocery shopping, okay? I'm going to teach him how to be frugal, teach him how to shop for the things that he needs, not always what he wants. I'm going to teach him how to set boundaries with people. I'm going to teach him how to create friendships and connections with people.
Yep, that's just parenting.
I'm going to teach him how to bake and cook.
And again, more parenting. Skills that parents should be teaching their kids regardless if they go to public school, homeschool, or unschooling. I don't think we just have to base their education around normal life. They need probably more than that, in my opinion. Now, my thing is, with this whole unschooling parenting style, is why are people taking advice from someone like Kelsey,
Day 2 of unschooling, and we're at the park learning how to have fun.
or this other creator,
So we don't teach our children anything.
when they've only just started? To me, it's like the blind leading the blind here.
Day 2 of unschooling, and we're at the park learning how to have fun.
You know, she's only in day 2. She's already saying this is the best thing for her child. How do you know? How do you know in the long term that this is the right route for your kid? How do you know that they're not going to be disadvantaged when they get older? Because that can happen, and plenty of people have spoken about as they've gotten older, they have learned that they are behind compared to other kids their age. That's not a red flag, because it should be. Now, like this girl.
So I was unschooled. I don't support unschooling, and I've gotten hate from parents who unschool their kids for not supporting it. Here's the thing though, I was unschooled, and you probably weren't. So here's why I don't support it. As a kid, I spent my childhood learning to play chess, circuit boards, knit, fun stuff like that. But I didn't want to learn to read, and I didn't want to learn to do math because that was boring. So in the rules of the philosophy, my mom didn't make me. So by the time I hit middle school, all the other kids were making fun of me for not knowing how to read. My mom signed me up for a junior high literature class in my homeschool group, and I didn't know how to do anything. To prepare for the class, I had to teach myself how to read because my mom wouldn't. I did this by watching YouTube videos and figuring out that they were saying the name of the video in the video and then figuring out what the words were.
This poor girl. She was behind on reading. Why? Because she didn't want to learn about reading. She didn't want to do maths. Because some kids just don't want to do it. So if the child is leading, they might be making the wrong choices, which children, teenagers, tend to do sometimes. Sometimes we can't be bothered doing the things that should be done. And this poor girl didn't have a choice because her mother just did the philosophy of unschooling. The child will lead. The child didn't want to read, she didn't learn how to read. Now she's behind on reading and she struggled in high school. That will probably happen for a lot of these kids who are unschooled because it's the parent who could be quite lazy and neglectful in these situations.
As someone that was homeschooled, borderline unschooled, I cannot tell you how difficult life was to adjust to once I did join society. My parents definitely thought they were doing the right thing, but they left my sister and I a lot to our own devices when it came to school.
And maybe some of these parents don't think they are being neglectful. Maybe they think they really are doing the best that they can do. But when you have nothing to compare it by, or the standards, how do you know? You could think you're doing the right thing, and only in the long term you will find out that what you thought was right was wrong. And so I think it's really unfair to some of these kids who don't get the right and proper education because of unschooling.
You don't know how your parenting is successful in the moment. I don't mean stuff like, did I feed my child well today? How did bedtime go? Stuff like that that's very immediate cause and effect. I'm talking about the big stuff. And I think there's a tendency in homeschooling to overinflate the positives. And that is precisely because people critique homeschooling a lot. So it's this Ouroboros, it's the snake eating its own tail, where because you're homeschooling it, you feel defensive and you're like, well, look at how well my children are doing. And then people like me are like, yeah, they might be doing just fine. How are they going to be doing in 10 years? Because I thrived as a homeschool kid until I didn't. I wound up going to public high school and I spent the entire time catching up.
And sometimes I think it's the parents that just want to have some free time. They don't want to have the structure. They just want to be able to do whatever they want.
I'm leaving for Texas in 4 days, and then after that coming home for 4 days and leaving for Nashville, Tennessee.
And the kid just has to follow because the kid does not have a choice. I don't want to say unschooling is all terrible, it's all negative, because I don't think that's fair. I think what I'm saying is you can't just give a blanket statement over all unschooling or homeschooling, because there is this one creator on TikTok who's actually successfully done this.
My neighbor did unschooling with her children. It was very sad to see, even as teenagers, they could not read.
Okay, let's set aside for a second the fact that real unschoolers, we don't claim that woman. But let's look at this issue of unschooling and unparenting and educational neglect. Now, I've been unschooling for many years. My 3 eldest kids are in college now. If you are doing unschooling correctly, it is more work, it is more involvement, it is about building a connected relationship with your child that facilitates their education, that empowers them to become lifelong learners and self-directed learners.
But the difference between Kelsey and this creator is that this creator has a higher education. Her husband is a special education teacher.
Now, my kids have the privilege of having highly educated parents, and my husband is a special education teacher. But really, my kids have been very self-directed in their learning, and I do not credit their readiness for college to me or my husband at all. It's been them.
They have the tools to be able to do this. They know the fundamentals of learning and educating. And so for these kids, it worked out perfectly. And I'm not saying if you go to public school, you're going to be better off. You could still have a disadvantage. Maybe you really struggle. But I think public school is a great option for a lot of parents because parenting is hard. Teaching can be hard. That's why teachers go to university or college and study for years and years. But this creator who's successfully unschooled their children, hats off. Hats off to you. I'm so happy that it worked out for you. But a lot of these kids are not going to have the same opportunities and they're really going to struggle.
So by the time I hit middle school, all the other kids were making fun of me for not knowing how to read.
I thrived as a homeschool kid until I didn't. I wound up going to public high school and I spent the entire time catching up. I feel like I've spent my entire adult life catching up.
After about 4th grade for me on, and when I finally decided I wanted to go to college, I had to get a GED, which at the time automatically disqualified me for a lot of scholarships because I didn't have a high school diploma. I had a GED. And then on top of that, socially, it was rough.
And I just think before we just jump on the unschooling bandwagon, really have a good look at yourself as a parent. Can I actually do this? Can I really do this? Or do I just believe I can do it and hope for the best? Because right now I think a lot of these unschooling parents are just hoping for the best because it fits their structure, their freedom. And so with this unschooling trend, it might work for you, it might not. I think for some kids, it might not be beneficial. Maybe they're really antisocial and maybe putting them in school might help them socialize. Because I know for a fact, I didn't really like people. I was quite shy. And if I had the choice to be unschooled or homeschooled, maybe I would have picked it. But I don't think that would have helped me thrive in social settings because naturally I want to go into a bowl. That's just me. But sometimes you need the push. Sometimes you need to be forced to go into social settings and learn about that. Sometimes being forced to learn about things is a good thing. But again, the creator who successfully got her kids to college and has done it the right way, hats off to you. People like Kelsey.
My charges were armed robbery, conspiracy to commit armed robbery, and attempted murder.
I think she's just doing this to boost her TikTok page and become a unschooling influencer.
And Kelsey Ray is doing exactly what I said she would do. She's decided to co-opt unschooling in order to make content and profit on TikTok.
But I think she might be neglecting her kids. And I don't know if people should be taking advice from someone who's only just started because she does not have a proven track record.
Day 2 of unschooling and we're at the park learning how to have fun.
So I would be questioning her unschooling advice. That's just my thoughts. Let me know your thoughts on unschooling. And if you like this video, give it a thumbs up. Remember to subscribe. It really means a lot to me. It really does, guys. Thank you to all my new subscribers. It really means so much that you hit the subscribe button. And I will see you next time. Remember, leave a comment. Let's have this discussion. I want to know what you guys think. All right. I will see you next time. Bye.